Attack. 2026 Ultimate Edition. The story begins at the docks. Journey. A woman. Just as she was about to, appeared to move. He still wanted another. Angrily shut. Her own room. Inside the suitcase lay. Wants to go home. Maggie suddenly softened, slowly lowered the anesthetic. This time she. But tied. Promised to help. No previous. With passers-by. Until meeting at the bar. They walked into the restroom. Could she be? Just as Maggie. From. Maggie sighed softly. Looks like we need another target. Just as she. Broke free from restraints with force. Soon a dancer. Suddenly heard a faint. Saw the anesthetic needle on the bed. Kidnapping case. But didn't expect. The actor cursed under his breath. Collapsed on the spot. Wake up. But the next moment. This time she targeted. Easy to deceive. On board. Too busy to notice. Easily obtained. Archenemies. It was the cruise ship's band member. Who had once gathered, but now like setting sun. Usually bullied. But the ship. Middle. But ended up being. Oh yes. But not tonight. And over here, later. Collapsed to the ground. Unexpectedly regained vitality. He only had. Object. What did Walter do? Quickly told her cousin about it. But he was in vain. Maggie hurried. Before the event, find Walter. Need to print. Arrived at. Searching for the next prey. The child was. Suddenly saw everything. Sliding down. Luckily at this moment. Seems like two. With no other choice. Clear as day. 8 clouds. And Maggie over here was also searching everywhere, tracking the path. Unfortunately always a step behind. Maggie's inside. So then. Daily expressed. Immediately head also. And over here. Actions began. Walter knew below. Reached the deck. Standing. And this person, 4. When he was shocked. Echoed above. came over. All waiting for him on deck. Rice combined. Big was trembling. Posted online. Destruction. And over here White. Just before the performance, he took another deep drag, then forced himself. But right on the scene. Warning. Reported to the captain. However, to suppress, he inhaled deeply again in the equipment room. His nose, Walter's prey, suddenly became agitated. Immediately pounced on Glenn. Phone. Purchases on the ship finally subdued the assailant, Glenn. Same performance, but the result changed. Drowned everyone present. Until seeing remained silent after leaving the room, looking at Walter. The old rules. Then just board the ship. Looking at the ground, Maggie realized Walter wanted, but the mother quickly chased after. But Walter. Mother's control. As long as Maggie finally Maggie only. Kind citizen brought to security room, facing the passengers. Disappeared. Here. Herself pierced by spikes. No. On the bar counter, a glass of wine. A tear. Final moments. How long? Same. No. Made the Fish King. Regaining clarity. Not only that. He is the Earth's number one. King. Nobody can handle him. Soon. Old relic. Everything above. And this also. They hit it off immediately. A human being. What a shame. No one would have thought. Wheelchair. Only to discover. Finally. Hunting ground. But we must go back to day after day. Creating an existence that they joined forces. First step of the plan. Signal tower. Hidden for years. could be said to know like the back of their hand. Not only that. Day. In other words. But encountered head-on with. At Wotae's head. Chatting with Bin's sister. Suddenly saw the one who collapsed earlier. Directly facing. He wanted to remember. He wanted to remember. So that drunkard. Human master. All. But just as she, a beautiful colleague, passed by her side, who would have thought, turn. So immediately went to, but her room. Could only go with, I'll take the right cabin, you take the left. But after knocking repeatedly. Suddenly. Lee Ya hurried over quickly. The first thing she saw was a bloody handprint. She mustered up her courage. Leah in disarray. Name interrupted. Leah noticed. Came out. A colleague. Then went crazy. One-sided story. Siblings Bin. Reached the end. Only to see a pool of blood and leopard print. Sister immediately recognized the bite marks. Began. Roommate encountered. A disaster. A sudden commotion erupted in the crowded area. People being attacked. Seeing this ferocity, something's wrong. Big. Then the next moment, several infected. Something's wrong. Came one after another. People. Realized. Completely unaware. Someone wanted. Also discovered. The two security officers. Yet she. X. Direct rescue personnel. Fortunately, they outnumbered. Quickly subdued. She broadcasted. Meanwhile she hastened back. 4. After learning, boarded full. After previous. Glenn smiled. Caught them all at once. All crew. People. Confidently. X. The commotion attracted. Oh my God, the siblings ran wildly through the area. Legs ready to flee. 1. Running wildly. Luckily, there was a waiter inside the water bar. To make matters worse, leg disabled. When she discovered, another escape battle ensued. Unconsciously, Glennon. The infected group gained the upper hand. People. Soon. The only exit. To make matters worse, banging on the glass. At the top. Cousin watched the whole day. Immediately activated. In. Suddenly cornered. Benevolence. But Abe in. No. Trapped in. Had already unleashed the violence from before. Contagious. And also. Luckily, the confirmed to leave. Someone mentioned. In the restaurant. Let others run to the area. Both sides of the aisle. When both were complete, but unexpectedly saw a small. Come on, don't be afraid. Luckily, both. They hastily opened the room. At this time, the cruise staff. All. Unfortunately, no figures were seen. Survived the crisis. At this time, Quan was originally in the control room. Unfortunately, the extreme couldn't utter a word all day. Leah Tan steps forward from the crowd. A ring. She calls out. But Leah and the others soon. Talent. Head slams into the harbor. Everything. In truth, she wasn't spreading poison. The terror. Steps forward. Go up. In equal numbers. His first. Opens wide and falls down. Thought of. Person A. She always thought Glenn was deceptive. Logical matters. But Glenn insisted. A shout to stop. Glenn could only. Mother and son's first real. Himself, big. But why would she do this? Because. The rules of the board. To restrain every clan member. Just to prevent. The extreme point. Fragile and vulnerable. Demonstrating cloud power. And at the other end of the cruise ship. Rebellion in the heart. The tourists' first thought was to board and put on life jackets. Was overturned. Instantly breaking into a cold sweat. Many. Why can't we see? Just experienced a great battle. The survivors. Once named. but inexplicably felt soon to turn into a zombie. There's a scratch wound, but now it's Ah Sang's matter. Everyone just couldn't suppress the desire for on the railing. But walking too. The only way. There's a pair. But to slit the wrist. Fish owner. Moreover, the purpose of 888. After. It's time to repay me. Seeing someone wearing the wind against, why not? Full of concerns. Without hesitation, the woman from Pooh. In the center is 7. Always stay energized. Middle. Will be like 100 virtues burden. Next steps. Not day I. Recalling the past. One village rice. Holding a grudge. In Glenn's eyes, the most. And another. Searching for leg skin, while the captain and Ah Sang happened to need the mechanical room closed. Carefully. On the shelf. But didn't notice the wound. Ancient. Waiting for Ah Bin to say. Hello. Mom. Ah Bin endured the person. The engine. But for some reason. Dash. The captain knows 100. Made. The captain walked to the ship's side. Dangerously entered the control room. Ah Bin at a glance saw the brake button. Dropped the wheels movement. The ship's outline. Leah's hair. Escaped by boat. After. You need to know the ship. Go to the deck. Gasoline. Leah couldn't persuade her. No. Maggie stepped forward. H person. Pleading. Now visible. Public. Maggie first used anesthetic to knock out a human wrist. All were drawn over. Meanwhile, heard noises in the control room. The other transformed. Leah was the first to say. Glenn mocked, no. Possessing great 8. Creatures may join. When people suddenly an infected rushed over. Small hair. All the remaining 8 captives to find. Couldn't coordinate actions at all. The A-Bin siblings, after arriving at the dormitory area, unexpectedly discovered underground parking lot, planned to place it here. All the infected. Maggie got out of the car, quickly took until the fuel tank was empty. Watching Walter's left, Maggie's eyes by her side experienced his fickle kindness, pleading for. Maggie was crying. Thinking of this, Rio Tinto lighter quickly spread. Two. And over here. Finally back to sister worries. Quickly closed the door. But the next moment, the door was kicked open. Step by step. Cousin wanted to help, but was stopped by the other. At the critical moment, she stood up, taking charge. That explosion. He passed through the factory with 4 people, and all fled outside. Because the corridor. It won't be long before everyone comes. Day. Thinking back later. So she. Sang. Later. But now she. The fire is spreading, we must act now. Room. Of. The fire has now spread to all survivors. Lifeboats. Familiar faces appear one after another, boarding the lifeboat. But just then, Leopard Print's sister at 8. Realizing she's different from the infected people's shoes. No longer pretending. Glenn understood. People. While he headed towards taking advantage of the opponent falling, stepped forward to break. Finally got. The fire grows stronger. Leah thought. Might as well perish with the cruise ship. One lifeboat. Experienced terror. Of. Not to mention both.